Hey everybody, back again with another one for you. Got the Guyver going on right now, and I'm going to share this over with the page real quick. As soon as Facebook loads up here and the channel loads up, there we go. Cool deal. Bear with me just a second while I share this over with the page so everybody can join in. And there we go. Now, I am going to be logging in on this one with some Copics and knocking this bad boy out. Get some better lean on the light here. There we go. Cool deal. Now, I got a mutant right here, and I'm going to start in on this guy and knock him out real quick. And then we're going to move on. So, I've got to grab, excuse me a second, I've got to grab a couple of things here. Where's the orange? Where's the orange? Like I did with the Evil Ernie, I'm going to be doing some really cool stuff with the Square Copics, the 2 model, and that's .TOO. They're an expansion pack and the original Square style. So I'm going to come in on this pretty solid with this yellow first right out of the gate. And then we're going to tone him up because this guy ends up with a brown, muddy color, yellow, orange type of thing going on. And I really dig this character. And this is the last we see of him because obviously he's lost his head. So, all joking aside there, it's one of those things where I wanted to do something very subtle and very powerful, but yet very dramatic all in the same shot. So, that is what we have here in this case. Now, this is the original version of the Guyver, not the Bio Booster version. No, Dorothy, thank you for making it on. Dorothy made it. That's awesome. I haven't seen Dorothy on here in, oh my goodness, it's been a while. Well, thank you for making it on nonetheless. But I'm doing the card of the day here right after midnight, so you guys will get it for the day because I'm going to be swamped. And I want to make sure I get it in early enough to where everybody has it because I've gotten a few complaints about that, you know, taking too long and whatnot. And it's just, I'm so sorry about that. But at least we're still doing them daily and taking care of business, so I think that's going to be all right. Now, this thing here is actually this critter's tongue, so that's why it's kind of hanging out there all funky. And I wanted to make sure that that went into this really well, so bear with me on that. I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of his neck down here at the bottom. Got a couple of innards hanging in where things got unfortunately sliced off or whatever. Now, I don't want to go in and do too much on the inside of the mouth here where these lines are, because that's going to be a different color. But I will color in this eyelid here, so we have that going on. Now, he's got some feelers and stuff like that, but that's Guyver. That's the Guyver's thumb and knuckles up there, so we're not going to mess with that. We're going to go in here with this hair and knock that out as well. But we're going to keep right on moving along. So now that I've got that going on with that, with the base coat, I'm going to go ahead and put in this hair first. And this hair is kind of a fiery mix. It's two-tone. It's orange and red. And what we end up getting out of that is, you know, something that highlights really, really cool and is pretty noticeable. I mean, it's a vibrant, hardcore color. You can't really miss it. And even when this dude is hiding, you can still see his hair flowing in the, you know, surrounding his face and whatnot, and pretty much exposes him every time he tries to hide and be a jumper or whatever he's doing, being creepy as a monster alien mutant as he progresses through his day or night, however that may be. And this guy is pretty cool. Now I've seen like 3 different variations of him. There is a purple one, and I don't know if he's kin to this one or what. I don't keep up with Guyver anymore. I used to keep up with it, but now that they have like 20 variations, it's kind of like Ultraman. You unless you're there and you're living it, they've made so many incarnations now you really can't follow. So they made it kind of tough. But there we go. Cool deal. Now this is going to be a little bit of the hair hanging down here off the bottom, and that's what I wanted that to be. So like it fell down behind him and fell underneath, you know, kind of thing. So it's off the back of his head kind of deal. We've got that going on. Now I'm going to take in this bright yellow here. This is a Y15. And this is where we're going to do the basic eyeball and have that going on. But the reason I'm not going to do that, all of that, is because it's going to be, believe it or not, we're going to have a really cool, oh, I didn't grab it. We're going to have a really cool purple coming to that. I like to shake things up a little bit. And we're going to have a really cool purple come down in here. And we'll give him the fisheye effect where that's kind of awkward in there. And we're going to go in now with this really cool putty look. And that's exactly what these are called. There's one that's a YG91, which is actually a putty color. It literally is a putty color. I'm going to go in here and kind of do this funky shading medium thing right through the middle. I like to do this in this kind of deal because it makes it have a reptilian look, highlighting it on both sides and going right down the middle, putting your shadow in from the fold. Okay, and by that I mean, like I said, go through the middle and don't go all the way out to the edge, and you'll leave a natural highlight as you pass through, and it'll give it a really cool double-sided open look. And when it dries, it'll be dual tone like you wouldn't believe. It just dries really solid. I really love doing this because of the fact that it brings it up and gives it an animated look and gives it just a little more vibrancy than it would have any other way. So we've got that going on. And now I'm going to go in with this little bit of a darker orange here on the hair because I want that to pop up just a little bit more in the orange sections, and the red sections will come in even more so and darken that up. And again, I'm doing it from the center in most cases, not doing all the way to the edge. And the reason I'm not doing that is because I want this to last and make it look like it's the hair coming out from the center that's making it highlight, and go from there, which I'm really digging. You just pop it in the center like that, or on one side if it's really fine lined, you can pop it in from one side and then hash over to the other by crossing across, and it gives it this really cool wavy highlight ripple effect without messing everything up and you having to go in there and, you know, tone each hair and make it overworked. And Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson used to do this when they draw. They used to go in and make these natural waves with tones in hair by putting these thin lines in there and making them ripple over each other and twist. And that was something that inspired that for me many moons ago. And now we go in at the base and pop in some shadows with this red, and it's just all it is simple shadows. Just every couple of strands you go in, and where the big divides are, you go in and kind of feather it in just a little bit. Nothing too fancy, nothing too hard. Just have it bleed in just a little bit. That's all you want to do, is just span it in places like that to make it pop. And I like to do it at the roots here, so it looks like it's the roots of the hair, and then kind of streak it out just a little. On this card here, I'll put it in this dark spot here, that shadow there, on that one side, and we're moving on. Now, I have a really cool, almost egg yolk color. It's a YR23, and this is what's going to be this jaw panel here. And I know this, you're probably looking at this going from a distance, going, well, what's the deal here? It looks like the same thing. What are you doing? Well, I'm going to show you in just a sec. Okay. I know that looks the same from a distance. Remember that putty color I told you about? And go in and just go right over it completely. You want to go edge to edge with this one to give it the yellow, but make sure it looks shadowed and off. Okay. Off color from the regular exterior. And then I didn't pull it, but I have to. Where is it? I have an RV11, which is a pink color. And you want to go in just real light, real quick over this and add some pink tones. And you don't even have to flesh this out. Just kind of tap it like you did the red up here, and it'll make it pop out. And just to add some color and contrast and some moisture. I know people don't like moist as a word, but just add some moisture in there. I'm adding in this pink a little bit to add a little bit of vibrancy and tone. And the same thing to the teeth. Because it's not an earthbound creature, we want to make sure it looks really gnarly without looking earthbound. Because that's part of the problem with monsters, is they do them too well and ended up cutting out a lot of the good stuff. Now we want to give it a bone look, even though it's not earthling based or earthbound based. You know, we want to give it a little bit of a shadow, so the pink will contrast the gray in there. And it's just a little warm gray. That's all it is. It's a warm gray. It's a W1. It's a little bit of warm gray to give it that bone look, like it's got some kind of calcium in it. And then we want to go really, really cool and gnarly with this. And you guys are going to freak out when I do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go very bright and paint him a purple tongue. And everybody's going to be like, what the heck are you doing? But you got to trust me. You just got to trust me on this one. So we're going to put a highlight there, put a little highlight right there, put a little highlight there, a little highlight on that side, like that. Boom, done deal. Okay? Now we're done with that. We've got that done. The monster is in play. Now we've got to go in and add in the darks here for this one to shade this down. I'm going to take a warm 5 and I'm going to go in and kind of nuke this a little bit. Okay. Right along that high edge, I'm going to add a shadow. Just a little organic shading, not much. Just a little bit. Like that. And right along the edge of that jaw, put a little shadow underneath. Right underneath the hairline, put a little shadow. And right here under the lip, well, which would be the lip, it's a snout for him. But put a little bit of color like this in this spot next to these teeth sockets. And then go right underneath and kind of get the main core, but leave the edges white, leave the edges highlighted. Don't go all the way out to the edge. Do the venom thing. Go through the middle of the material like this, but leave a highlight. And the reason you do that is because when you go down here and you leave a little bit of a highlight on it, it shows it's still fleshy looking no matter what. And it shows it's still organic. And so many people go in and just wipe that out, and then they'll be like, well, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like yours. So we just want to add a little contrast. But you don't want to over color the thing because then it'll look weird. Okay. So keep it open and let the natural lights do their work. So see, now that's all fleshed up, right? So he doesn't, I know I said I was done with the monster, but the thing is I'm not. So we have that going on. Now we're going to move into the base coat for the Guyver. And I have to see which one is brighter here. Oop, there it is. Got it. Yeah, that's not going to be the one I want. This is the one I want. Yeah. Okay, I've got a BG10 here, which is a green. It's a blue-green. So we're going to go on the outer edges. I'm going to save a lot of time and a lot of ink here. I'm just going to go on these outer edges because that's where the highlights are going to be anyway. I'm going to kind of let it bleed in the way it wants to naturally. So that it'll give us the detail we want. Now the way you're making it bleed, the way you make a Copic bleed is you hold it for just a split second, a 1 count. And that's all it takes, is just go in and go 1 as you graze on the line, 1. And the reason is because it'll come out and it'll come together and it'll saturate into the middle. And it'll leave just a little bit of white space or thinner space there for you. I'm just taking a little longer of a instead and a little more pressure to the stroke. That's all I'm doing. And if you overlap, that's fine, because it'll come back. Just don't cross your ink. That way it doesn't bleed to the outside. If you see me do that quick jerk, I'm flipping my pen. That's what I'm doing there. See it bleed in with that 1 count instead of going over it super quick and super light. It just bleeds in and leaves that little bit of highlight, which is what you want, especially for this character, because it's where the metallic comes from. It's where that metallic blue look comes from, and you definitely want that. So now we're going in here and cutting in all these pieces. There's the collar, there's the chest piece. And it just fills them in really quick. And if you got a bigger spot, just make another pass and it'll cover it. So we're getting all of these metallic pieces painted up. And I don't want to give it a hard line. That's the reason I'm using my marker tip here. Just kind of layering it in back and forth. Okay, cool deal. Now I'm going to go back over here and try not to saturate my pen tip by hydrating too much of that ink in that black. See how that works? Isn't that cool? The way these markers are very forgiving. And like I said, I say that all the time. It's just one of those things where I really, really dig this process. And I know that doesn't look like it filled it up, but it will. Okay. right, there we go. He's starting to come together. Now the funny thing is with this armor, it's going to take a little bit of time to knock this out, because it's got so many unique details to it. And I know it may not show right off the bat, but in coloring this kind of armor, by technique alone, it's got so much detail in it, in the way that it's done, because this design is for black and white art to make it stand out and not really be colored, because these are black and white comics. They're manga by tradition of the series, and what we're getting here is an American version, because we're getting me coloring this out as we do. So now we've got this going on. Okay. Now we have that. I know that's a reach, but it is what it is. So we've got that going on. And that was a BG10. Now I'm going with the BG15, which is more of a neon color. It's quite a bit stronger. This is going to give it that electric pop before we come in with the harder tones. Yeah, I think it's going to be a cool heavy blue. Maybe too heavy for this one. But it's already down, so we're good to go. Now, I'm going to start in on this ab first. Go ahead and block these out. These sides here. So we can get that going on. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but it will. It will. Everybody says when they shoot, do you ever notice they say fire at will? Which, I mean, I understand that they say, I understand what they're doing. They're saying fire at your choosing or your will. But have you ever thought to stop and ask, what does Will want to do? And why they're shooting at him? You never know. I'm sorry. It's late. But we're knocking out the Guyver here. We're going to get this guy going. And I'm going to go up under here, and I'm going to get this joint here and make it a little bit darker, because they are naturally darker in pretty much every incarnation of the character. So before I go any further, I'm just going to go ahead and block these out, and that'll save us a bunch of time here and make this come together a little bit faster. So let's see. And if you guys ever seen the movies, I think there are 3 or 5 Guyver movies now. They made so many of them in the late 90s and early 2000s, it's hard to tell. Mark Hamill was in the first one as a mustache detective that was trying to figure out what was going on with the kid that became the Guyver. And he was carrying a gun and ended up unfortunately falling to the wayside and losing his life to protect it. Spoiler alert. And he got mutated. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, spoiler alert there, but check it out. It is really cool. The live action effects. The story is kind of tongue in cheek because it's based off of the actual source material, so it's kind of sharp, you know. It's like watching an old Power Rangers movie of sorts. But I will say this: in regards to the film and the acting, it is really solid for what it is, and the effects aren't bad. They're not bad. They are really well done. The Guyver actually looks organic and looks like bio armor, and it's really impressive, to say the least. So keep that in mind when you go for it. Good, good. Uh, Dorothy made a comment about her brother. So if you guys can't see this on YouTube later, um, her brother's name is Willis, and she's going to tell him the joke that uh, the rather lame late night joke, but nonetheless, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's funny. But yeah, let's see here. Moving along with this thing, yeah, the film that I was talking about, the the effects in that were awesome. I mean, they were definitely practical effects, and you could tell. And I mean, it was like they did the old Swamp Thing, you know, with the padded suit, and you could just tell it was a foam suit. Um, but with the Guyver, you really couldn't tell. I mean, you knew it was a movie suit, obviously, but the way they put the mechanical effects in for the smoke stouts right here on his face to come out and shoot exhaust, the fin to pop up and down, it was really well done for the time. It was phenomenal. I really enjoy that. And you know, cheeky acting or scripting aside, it's still a great film. If you want to get an escape movie to get away for an hour and a half of just good fun, check this movie out. It was great. I mean, I'm not getting paid for anything for it or anything like that. I'm just saying it was a good film. And the effects in all of the Guyver films have always been decent. The suits, at least. Um, not so much the scripts, but the concept and the artwork has always been top notch as far as that goes. I really enjoy it. I really need to get those on DVD. I haven't seen them in a while. I had the original one on VHS for a long time, but my last VCR died about 10 years ago, and they're just way unreliable now, as far as, you know, these new combo units or whatever. And if you can find a decent VCR anymore, I mean, they just don't hold up, and they're not designed to. They're designed to be disposable because the media is disposable. So that's just the way it goes, unfortunately. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this one. A lot of artists are going to be looking at this one right here, this shading, and they're going to be going, "You put the shadow on the high side. Why'd you do?" Because of the fact that I'm going to make it, I'm going to make that part like it's leaning forward out of the shadow in comparison to this side. So that's why there's more light back here than there is up here. So that's why you're getting that effect. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. It's okay. But yeah, the Guyver was a cool show, and I really love that book. I've always been a fan of it. Um, but like I said, I don't read any of the newer stuff because they've got so many of them. It's really hard to follow for a lot of it now. And, you know, like I said, it's like the Power Rangers and um, Ultraman, which I love zipper suit monsters and things like that. And that's part of why I like the Guyver so much, because he's in that realm, especially with being made off of that type of costume setup and that construct. And it's one of those things where you go to see that stuff, and it's just amazing the way it resonates. And if you're a super huge fan of zipper suit monster stuff like I am, check the Guyver out. You will not be disappointed. You will really enjoy that. Um, oh, I forgot to do this part. These rails in here, these hoses. So We got to do this real quick, and then we're going to move on to the next level of blue here, the blues and the grays, to get this thing done up here. This is where the real power play comes in, because we got to move into the blue 34 or 32 first. 32. Now this is going to mute this quite a bit, and I'm going to go in on the heavy shadows with it, because it has more of a bluer tone than the other. So I'm going to go in, like I said, kind of in the middle here. Now I'm going to do this like I did the red for the hair on the mutant. Just going into the core areas and lighten this up real quick. This will be fast, because this one is just going in, touching base, and running out. Okay, just like that. It doesn't have to be everywhere. We just want it to accent the major shadows and add in this kind of muted blue to tone everything down just a little, and take some of the brightness out of that, some of the green out of that. So we got that going on. Now we're going to mute this down just a little. Get right up under here, get right in here, get in these dark areas. Put some on the arm. And it doesn't look like it's there at first, but trust me, it is. It's there. It's a very subtle color, because it's so blue, it doesn't show through that that bright green in this other blue very well at all. And it's not supposed to. It's supposed to add a muting color to tone it down a little. That's all it's for. So okay, having that pop up just a little bit. Just laying that one line to insert and add a little warmer color. It's going to help a ton. Now, we've got that going on. A little bit in the fingers. Now he's starting to come together. I hope you guys can see this. It's starting to come together really well, because what's happening now is it's starting to bleed up where the darker blues are starting to show. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in one step further and just put this on the heavy shadows. And I mean literally just on the heavy shadows, nowhere else. Right next to these black lines, and where this grid work comes up. Like that. Right up under the edge of the helmet here where that segment is. Same there, same there, same there. Kind of catching it on this ridge point and on these tracks. There we go, cool deal. Because see, that's right there is where we want it, on those deep edges. And it'll also make this pop out. I love the biometrics where the grid work comes out together like this with these ridges in the soup between. And it translates on film super high end, because of the fact that it's got those segments added on the surface. And then it's got this ridgeline suit underneath that's just organic and shows the human form, and it causes the silhouette. And it's just phenomenal the way they did it. It's a beautiful character. I'm into tech, so this is just like in my wheelhouse. Yep. Okay. Now, got this going on right there. Now, the reason I'm adding the raw blue in the white spots is because it's going to add in this really cool shadow effect to the torso. And it's like a mirrored contrast. Just a little. Okay, cool. Now we've got that going on. So he's starting to pop up and get together. Now I need the green because we need this for the biometrics. For the spheres, which are actually, these are sensors and extra eyes for him. They're biomechanical eyes, which go around and they slide on those rails and come down and help him out. Now, I want to go in with just right along the edge of this. I'm going to put in right along this edge here, just a little bit of green. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to pop that out, but I don't want to put too much in there because I want him to stay blue. Because there is a green one, there is a red one, and there is a blue one. And the blue is the original armor. And I want it to stay that way. But I like adding in the green to pull it all together because the orb that he fell on is actually green. And that's the core of the alien. So we have that going on. Just a little bit here and there. Nothing major. Just accent-wise. Just kind of pull it together a little bit. And if you do this right, when you're coloring these things, if you do this right and you add in just enough throughout, it'll pull it all together and just make it suck in and pop. And I really like to do this because of the fact that it pulls it all together and you can't really tell what all the colors are, and that's the way you're supposed to have it, is where you can't tell every single thing that you do. Okay, now I'm going to go in with a B32. It's going to kind of accent these a little bit. Just hard lines on the biometrics just to break them up. Now we go in on the suit itself, scrub that around, boom, boom, done. Go back up on the neck, go back up on these runners. It adds an extra shade to it before I go in with the really dark blue and make it pop out. Now I know I'm wiping this out, but the thing is, when it dries, all those other blues underneath will pop through and give it a great tone. I know that looks really dark right now, but when it dries, like I said, those lines will show back up and it will show through and it will be great. Now I'm just kind of shadow overtoning because when this dries, it'll be like shadowing it with a gray marker. It'll give it a dark, rich blue color, but as it dries, it'll get lighter and lighter and lighter and show all those other tones, and it'll add less chance of absorbing into the paper because of the fact that all those other colors are already there. Because I get that all the time, and like I said, Copics are very forgiving, and their inks are just phenomenal. Because as you can see, it's already starting to dry, and the lines, the black lines are starting to come back through, and that's what we're talking about. And it'll give it this great tone, and it'll just be electric when it comes off. And then where I shaded it with all those different blues and all the different tones, it will come through, and it'll give it a depth, like it's a real fabric or real organic material, either way, depending on how you tone it. And because I did it this way, it's going to look like a suit, so, which is what we want either way. And that's starting to come out. That's really cool. I wish you guys could see this a little better, but you're just going to have to trust me on that. Just going to have to trust me. Now, we've got that all in place. Now what we need to do is we need to come in with the, I'm going to take a C5 here. I'm going to take a cool gray C5. And I'm going to come in and just pop this in the shadows and kind of just dash it in. That's all I want to do with it. Just kind of nick it in here and there, because it's not going to be a solid color to be present. It's just a spot color. Okay. This is going to come in and mute that down a little bit and give us some options for the shadows. Like this. Just give it that gray mechanical look. Okay. Alrighty. Now, cool deal. Okay. Now I'm going to add a little bit of this into the ridges of the helmet here. Just kind of sparsely. Not too heavy. Don't overdo it. Not too heavy. Just hardening up those ridge lines just a little. And there we go. Cool and deal. All right. Now, for the final touch, nobody ever remembers to do this, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it anyway. Just like I did with my Silver Surfer, if you saw that one. The last touch is to add either a purple or a pink to metals. If you want it to look metallic, add in a contrasting purple or pink. You add in a contrasting warm color, and it shows the iodized metals, especially of earth metals. And all you have to do is tap these in once in a while, just like this. Because even though it's made of an alien armor, you're still looking at it using organic material from Earth to bond with the human, which made up his flesh, which is minerals and things like that, which are in us, and they contrast differently. Okay, so you're going to have that no matter what. Now we've got that going on, and the Guyver is all but done. However, there is another element that I have to add, and I dropped the marker naturally. But let's see. Yep, that's going to do it. Cool deal. I have a Y15 again. I'm going to pop in this bright yellow for his eyes. And now I'm going to spot with a YRR 04. I'm going to ridge it like that. And then underslice like that. Cool deal. Now, I'm going to take this very cool. What'd I do with it? I'm going to take this very cool dark gray, and I'm going to tone around this thing, and we're going to call it a day. Okay? Bear with me here. It's a cool gray. It's a cool 7. Very dense charcoal color. Go around these hairs individually here so we don't jack them up. Jacking them up is a technical term, so bear with me on that. Getting right over to this edge here. Boom, done deal. And now before it dries. I'm going to try and be very quick here. Map out the rest of this, so when I pop this other side for this wedge, we'll be able to do the top and get it done. Now, there we go. Cool and deal. Trying to keep my fingers out of the way so that I don't paint my hands. I've done that far too often. Far too often. Hey, Jeremy. So we've got this gray in here. I'm going to finish this up. Try not to over flood this thing. And boom. Now tip that just a little bit. Nice. Okay. And right off this edge, boom, done deal. Now we have full color completed, another card of the day, so you guys can check it out all day long. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Thank you so much for that, all the support and all the comments and all the fun. Thank you so much for this. I am going to call it done as of this point and step aside and let you guys enjoy it. As always, we have this rock for a limited amount of time. It is a great party, but we've got to leave it better for the next generation, because far too long generations before us have partied and not cleaned up after themselves. We've got to respect that and move forward, leaving it a cleaner place than we got it for the kids to come, so everybody can rock on. Talk to you tomorrow.